Welcome to AgePotential TV. I'm Lori Campbell, your host, gerontologist, and advocate of your best life, here to introduce you to an emerging trend called Age Potential. Here's to living out your age potential. Is there something you've always wanted to do or accomplish but haven't yet acted on it? Are you disillusioned by not being able to create and sustain the change you desire in your life? You're not alone. People will resist change when they perceive it as a threat. The question then to ask ourselves may be, how do we perceive change? After all, there's a risk to blossom and a risk to stay the same. Both can be painful. However, my guest, Sal Valdovinos, will tell you there is more to gain when you risk to blossom. Welcome, Sal.
Thank you.
Sal has spent a lifetime risking to blossom. Now at age 87, you want to create change. You want to evolve another role in your life. Sal, the author, because you're interested in writing and publishing a book, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Exciting. But what actually motivates you to act on this dream?
Well, for me, about the book, it's because I want to share with all the things I've learned about people and how they can live their life better and more fulfilling. And also, through the book would be a good way of leaving a legacy. And that'd be a very way of encapsulating things for people to read and republish and read again and so on. That's my reason for that.
Mm-hmm. You know what I find fascinating is that this new experience of writing a book, you don't perceive it as an intimidation. How so?
Well, it's another chance for me to use that experience to grow and evolve and thrive. Another part of me will emerge more developed than before because of that event. Or I could be frightened about it and saying, I don't need it, and talk myself out of it. Like the little boy who keeps missing the ball and he says, I hate baseball. When all he needs, he feels more competent and believes he can do it, he would do it.
Sal, so many people really struggle with complacency. How do you keep yourself from falling into complacency?
Well, I wish I could say I didn't, but I do once in a while fall into it, like any other human being, I'm sure. But I usually notice what I'm doing, because I try to practice self-awareness a lot to notice what I'm doing, not why I'm doing it. And then after I notice that's not really what I want, then I ask myself, well, what do you really want? And I go to do what I really want, and I get out of that. But the biggest danger for me is the fact that everything interests me, and I've got a lot of skills, and people always like to ask me to do stuff, and I love doing that for them and loving a chance to also enjoy the skill that I have. And I've got to really learn to say no to some of those things so I can stay focused on my real committed goal. Good
point.
So,
can you share some of the steps that you have, action steps that you have planned out, so that you can bring this book into reality? And what tips that have helped you in the past create positive, healthy change?
Well, I see myself, first of all, already having the result that I want. The book's already published. I'm probably some bookstore giving a nice talk on my concepts and maybe signing the book and selling it to people. So I see myself already done. And then once I get that clearly in my mind, then I look and say, well, now what is the last thing you have to do before the book is finished? And I work my way back to the present moment. And then those steps become the sub-goals, the little goals of how to get to the big goal. And then on the little goals, I put a due date and what exactly the result looks like. And I have to see it contributing to the big goal. And I plan weekly and daily to put a little time on the big goal. You can't let too many days go by, then before long it fades. You've got to keep it before you, give it the attention to support your intention.
Sure. What I'm hearing from you is that this change takes more than willpower. You have a plan, you have strategies, you have goals, deadlines. So it's important, obviously, to create this sort of structure to make positive, healthy change.
Yeah, unfortunately, willpower doesn't help very much. It doesn't carry you very far. It doesn't really bring you the change you want. It may give you the event for a little while, but it'll soon fade because your old big ways will pull you back to do what you're used to being, because that's who you are. So therefore, one of the important things that I'm leading up to is the fact that for you to have the new result, you've got to become the right person for that result. So when you attain it, you're in harmony with it, and you support each other, and it's joyful to get it. You're not in conflict with who you are.
It reminds me of something I've heard before. People say you have to be, then you do, and then you have.
Right. Be the right person for what you want. Then you can do, and then you can have.
Right.
And no conflicts on the way.
Right. We know that change is very unpredictable. It's not linear. It's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, then a quantum leap. Tell us what you do when you experience those 1 step backs, when you really encounter challenges and setbacks.
Well, if I do sort of step back or get a wrong result, I accept it as part of the effort towards the achieving that I want. And I just notice it, and I look at it and say, is that what I want? And I say, no. And then I accept it as what I created, but it's an unexpected outcome. And I say, well, what do I want? And I go back to the main goal. Here's what I want. And I reaffirm it in my mind, and I refocus on the end result, and I move in that direction again, with following, again, the small steps that I've created from working my way back, as I mentioned before. Mm-hmm. It works. But you've got to notice what you're doing, because you may make a result that sounded good, may not produce the outcome you want, and you have to not follow that, because it won't take you where you want to go. But you have to accept it, and don't be hard on yourself.
So being in tune and that self-awareness is big.
Self-awareness is critical.
Correct.
You got to pay attention.
Do you know that 80% of people who make New Year's resolutions leave that commitment or that goal within 45 days? Now tell me, how is your change different than setting a New Year's resolution?
Well, this is the model of change that I follow is very much, like I said before, you're very clear what you want, and you see yourself in having the goal and being with that goal with emotion, because that's what energizes you to move towards it, because you feel, it's how you feel having it that pulls you, not just having it intellectually. And then you learn that by focusing on that, that'll pull you towards your goal, as compared to the New Year's resolution, where you just do a big thunderous change and it doesn't last, because your old behavior that persists pulls you back to do what your body and brain is accustomed to doing for you. But if you go into very small steps, then the brain changes to support the new behavior or the new results that you want. And then when you get there and you're already the right person for it, your brain is wired for it, how can you lose?
What additional nugget of wisdom would you like to share with our viewers for the people who are really serious about making positive, healthy change?
I think I got 3 basic nuggets that I can share with you that are important. And without the 3, you're not going to produce the result very well. Be very clear what you want. Mm-hmm. And in that wanting it, it's what you want, not what somebody wants for you or you think you should have to please your mom or dad. Secondly, you have to now have a time in mind when you want to have that result, and a very clear result, and see yourself. And thirdly, you need to see yourself in that result. And I guess I would say add a 4th one now. You have to believe I can do it. If you don't believe you can do it, you won't even try. If you believe you can, you won't ever give up trying and doing it.
Your comment about the belief reminds me of the quote of Henry Ford. Think you can or think you can't, either way, you're right. Yeah. So obviously, whatever we believe in, we are much more apt to create or have come into reality.
And sad to say, there are people who believe they can't do very many things. They don't have what I call a sense of self-efficacy. I can do it, kind of an attitude. And I've always had that.
How does one develop that, Sal?
What?
How does one develop that?
Well, you have little successes that you are recognized for, and you believe that if you can do this, and you go to something close to that, and I can do that. Before long, you've got a number of things you can do. After a while, when you really see yourself, I can do anything if I want to do it. But you have to want to do it. And then you can do it. And that's how I've always lived my life. I remember since 14 or 15, very few things I felt I couldn't do. And if I didn't, I could learn it. And I believe I could learn it sometimes even from reading a book. In fact, I taught myself how to swim from a book.
Wow, you're inspiring. I love your outlook on change.
Thank you.
It inspires me, and I'm sure it's going to inspire our viewers.
I hope so.
Thank you, Sal, for being with us and for being a role model, for being open to the unforeseen in change, and most importantly, is being open to evolving another dimension of self. That's so important.
It's been a pleasure to be here, and honey, you should say that because I've always seen myself as kind of a prototype for the behavior I want people to have. I need to have it first, and then I can have more influence, and they can be more use me as a model if they want to, not a warning.
Thank you. I invite you to boldly step into 2013, choosing to embrace, or better yet, create change in your life. Here's to you living out your age potential.